on YouTube. She does this show called The Podacity, and she was talking about. I'm on my way to work. I wasn't actually planning on recording a video, but she has this video where she's talking about this older gentleman that got into a relationship with this younger woman, and they became successful, and then they got a divorce. And she's talking about relationship values and things of that nature. She mentioned there's two things she mentioned that really bothered me, and that's why I started recording, because I was gonna try to structure the video later, and I still will. But while it's fresh on my head, the two things she mentioned was red pill and how it applies to men in modern society. And then she went to rant and rave about what women should do when it comes to men that have insecurities, and like, if men have all these insecurities, or if they have all these things that they're dealing with, and they have all these problems that are bothering them, you should just lie to them, right? And this is the way that she's responding to that controversy between these two individuals that were of different ages, and my co-host Nessa is supposed to be doing this with me, because what I find is going on in our modern society is that there are a lot of individual people like myself right now talking from a singular perspective on relationships without that other person present to rebuttal in real time, right? So since I can't have a woman present to help me communicate what I'm trying to say, I'm gonna just have to say it by myself. And I want to address the issue of red pill, and I want to address it in a way that I was just thinking about it, right? Modern feminism is selling women this idea that they don't have to be traditional women. You don't have to be a wife, right? Colonial Europeans have created the ideology of slavery and the master and the servant, and they have reduced the woman to being a slave. That is Western philosophy of the traditional role of the modern woman and modern society. That has nothing to do with me or you or any other boy running around trying to be an adult. Hi. That is what society has been indirectly teaching us about what it is to be a man, and what it is to be a woman, what it is to be a husband, what it is to be a father. What it is to be a wife, what it is to be a mother, and what it is to be a father. So I want to lean into this for a second, right? Feminism is the idea that women can be equal to men. Men and women are equal, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Men and women are absolutely equal in the context of what equal means, right? Men and women are inherently different because men are physically stronger and physically more superior to women. That is the difference between a boy and a girl. When you put a 6-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl in a fighting arena next to each other, and they wrestle with each other, a 6-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl of the same weight class, there is a 50-50 chance that that girl can beat that boy. If you take those same two boys and girls when they are 16, the same two, and put them in the same arena under the same conditions with the same rules, when that boy turns 16 and that girl turns 16, with the hormonal changes, the body changes, all of the other dynamics that we go through, whether you believe in gender and pronouns or not, there is an almost 0% chance that 16-year-old girl is going to beat that boy. There is still a possibility because we are equal. There is still a possibility because we are equal, right? Now, if you take any man of any age, of any demographic, and put him in an arena with a man that is his physical superior, there is a almost 0% chance that if you are outside of your own weight class, that you can win in a fight with another man. It's not impossible, but weight classes are important. We look at all these movies. We look at all these movies, and we look at all of this stuff on the internet of these people and these heroes and these guys overcoming all this bullshit. But in reality, if I'm 4'9", 97 pounds soaking wet as a man, and somebody 5'5", 200 pounds walk up to me trying to punk me, I'm gonna be humble and submit because I don't have a fucking choice. Now, when you are a female that is 4'9", 110 pounds, and you're in a relationship with a guy that is 5'4", 170 pounds, it's the same energy. It's the same dynamic. There is no reason why a boy or a man should have to constantly argue and fight with a female that is outside of his weight class, right? And then feminism says, y'all are equal. Y'all are equal, but y'all are not the same weight class, right? So, feminism is teaching women that they are equal to man and they can do everything that a man can do and they can have the same quality of life that a man can have. And this is what is being sold to young girls and young women, right? Here's the conflict. Here's the conflict. Before feminism, the average man could go work a job and make enough money to support himself, his wife, and his children, right? Feminism is telling women, sacrifice your husband, sacrifice your children, work, and be independent and be successful. If you are not having children in life, how is that success? That's not to say, sorry, I just did a 6-mile run this morning. That's not to say that the value of a woman is to produce children. But you have to realize we only exist because our parents had us. So if our existence is based on that foundational structure, that's the value. You're not bringing people into life and fulfilling your role as an entity that can produce children and provide offspring to the planet so that you can make somebody else money so they can do what? So they can provide for their children. All these corporate CEO executives and all these high-ranking people, all this money running around, have fucking children. The same people that are telling you you don't need children have children. So you're selling women this idea like you can do anything a man can do, but you have to sacrifice the family unit. You can't be a wife, you can't have kids, but you can go to college, you can go to school, you can climb the corporate ladder, you can have all this materialism at the sacrifice of having no child, having no parenting, none of those experiences. Give all those experiences up and come work 40 hours a day for us, 5 days a week, get treated like shit, get disrespected, don't get promoted, constantly have to be submissive to your boss and your employers and your supervisors and everything else. Give up all that energy that you would give to your husband that's going to provide you with love, respect, foundation, integrity. Give all that up. That's what feminism is teaching them. And this is why I titled this Feminism and Red Pill. Because the Red Pill component is, and this is the perspective that I had, if men and women are equal, right? If you ask any man, realistically, not as like a theoretical tossing this shit out there kind of sort of thing, but realistically, guaranteed, sign this contract, absolutely this is going to happen. If you ask any man if his wife could go to work, provide for the family, take care of all of the rent, all of the bills, all the utilities, and all he has to do as a husband is fulfill the wife role inside the household, be a stay-at-home husband the way that a stay-at-home husband would take care of a stay-at-home wife. There's not very many men that will be like, I don't want that. I don't want that deal. There's not very many. There's not a lot of men that be like, I don't want that deal. Yeah, you've got all these women running around that are like, I want to be a masculine woman. I want to wear the pants, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. None of those women feel obligated to provide 100% of the resources required to keep a man alive. None of those women will work a 40-hour-a-week job and come home to a man that's sitting on the couch taking care of his children. Women are not wired that way. Their brains are not designed for that to be okay. That's the reason why men typically go get jobs and work and take care of women and their children. Women typically don't do that. It's not impossible because we're equal, but it typically doesn't happen in that context, right? So that would be the actual equality of feminism. But what feminism is actually teaching is that the corrupted ideology that we live under is the conflict, right? The corrupted ideology of men being superior and women being inferior is what feminism is teaching women. Feminism is like, hey, you know how men are in power? Well, you should be in that role, not him. And then you can do all of the stuff that you want to do to men that you feel that men are doing to women. And then you could be the one being conniving and scheming and deceitful and dishonest and abusive and usury. And that's what you see. That's what you see. And the red pill men are experiencing this, and we're like, or they're like, because I'm not really a red pill man, but they're pushing against that energy. Like, I don't want that. I don't want to come home and be disrespected. I don't want to come home and have to argue and fight with you all day. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for me to go to work 40 hours and then come home to you bitching and complaining about shit that's not relevant to nothing. Every other day you have a new insecurity that you need me to address for you. Every other day you have a new demand that you're making. About what? About what? And then society is like, well, you wasn't man enough to be able to, I wasn't man enough to give her the fucking moon when she asked for it. That's what you're saying. I wasn't man enough to give her a car instead of letting her use my car. I wasn't man enough to buy a second house for her to live in with our kids while I lived alone so she could be a fucking slut. So she could run around with other guys and have a foundation and a home base that she could use to live the kind of hoish life that she wants to live. That's a failing for me somehow. Because you have to realize that that's what it's like. No compromise. In a functional environment, in a functional relationship, there will be a mutual respect. There will be mutual understanding. There will be mutual sacrifices. There wouldn't be unreasonable demands. There wouldn't be unreasonable expectations. And that's what's going on in the world. That's what society is doing right now. That's what's being marketed and sold. And it's really fascinating to me that single women are getting up, going to work, doing all the stuff that men traditionally used to do, and then complaining that it's somehow men's fault that they allow corporations to trick them into fulfilling the fucking father role. Nobody told you to go to, I'm not saying that every household and that 100% of men are decent and respectful and honest and kind and genuine and humble. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the idea that women are being sold directly goes against their own best interest, and it doesn't make sense to me why they are okay with it, right? Like, why are you okay as a woman? Why are you okay with not being a mother? Why are you okay with not having children? Why are you okay with working 40 hours a week for a job to get compensated money and at a sacrifice of your time? Why is it more valuable for you to spend 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, working a job when you still have to come home and an adult? You still have to wash your own dishes. You still have to take out your own trash. You still have to cut your own grass. You still have to pay your own bills. You still have to go shopping for food. You still have to do all this stuff for yourself. Why is it okay for modern feminisms to be like, this is a better deal than fulfilling the nurturer role of a wife? This is a better deal than to being honest and kind and respectful and humble and appreciative and grateful for a guy that actually is legitimately trying to provide and take care of and be there for me. Why are women allowing themselves to be sold that idea, right? Because no guy wants to be in a relationship with a B word. No woman wants to be in a relationship with an a-hole. But we are losing the conflict in the battle and the context of, oh, well, you know, I had to move out of my apartment and I had to share his car and I had to watch the internet, watch the cable that he wanted. I wanted Dish Network and he wanted cable. And since he's paying for it, he got cable. So I'm upset because I didn't get Dish Network. But that's the compromise. Like, why is it weird that you have to be able to mutually work together? Why is that weird? Why is it so, how is it that society convinced women that, how did society convince women that not being a wife and not being a mother is better than a man actually being able to be a father, a husband, and still be able to provide for a quality of life for two humans? Because I know what I'm saying isn't, what I'm saying is not connecting because they've done such a good job, but this is what I'm trying to say. Husband, wife. Husband goes to college, gets a degree, gets a job, gets a wife, has children, can afford all of that shit. Wife, this is what society has sold women. Wife, no children, no husband, get a degree, get a job, be single, get cats. That's what society, somehow that's what society has sold women. That's what they've sold y'all. And I don't understand how y'all can't see it. I don't get it. You get a job, you go to college, you get a degree, you graduate, you get a job, you make your own money, you stay single. Why? Make it make fucking sense. Why? Why is that the stipulation for feminism? Why do women have to go get a job, go to college, get a degree, and stop being a wife and stop being a mother? Why? Why is that the vision that they're giving you guys? Why can't you be a successful woman and have a degree and be, because of what they always say is it intimidates men. How? Are you saying that 100% of women that have degrees and are in traditional wife roles intimidate their husbands? Is that what you're saying? Well, I get that. Like, I'm just trying to understand how, because if you look at what's going on the internet when it comes to the way the gender role is sold, that's what it always is. It's always be successful, be independent, be proud, be strong. You don't need no man. Why don't you need a man? Like, why is it always packaged that way? You don't need a man. You do need a man. If you as a female need companionship and compassion that comes from being in a relationship with a man, you need that shit. You need that shit. So, right, the balance is what it is. And it's off from my perspective, for my channel and my brand and my marketing. It's off because corporations have outgrown the capacity for government to govern them. And that's the disconnect. Like, they're selling this idea of if we hire a man, we have to pay him for his wife. We have to pay him a salary that allows him to be able to provide for his wife and his children and his family and his household. He needs insurance to cover his wife, his children, his household. He needs, so they convince women, hey, if you don't have any kids, your overall household income is significantly less. So since your overall household income will be significantly less, we won't have to pay you the same amount of money that we're paying the husband, because you don't have all the other stuff. So we can pay you a little bit more than what you are worth, but significantly less than what he needs to cover all of that shit. Like, he's got a wife and children and 2 cars and insurance for everybody. Like, that's a lot of stuff. Instead of paying for all of that, we could give you like half of what we're giving him, And you're going to think it's more valuable because you don't have a husband that you're taking care of. You don't have children that you're taking care of. You only have insurance for yourself. And most of your medical expenses are going to be from childbirth. So since most of your medical expenses are going to be because you had children, if you don't have those children, you don't have that expense. And that means that your insurance will be significantly less because you don't have that extra burden of that extra medical expense. And for some reason, modern feminism is just like, yeah, that seems reasonable. That seems like a really good idea. I think I want to buy into that. Yeah, so yeah, that's true. Selfish humans are less than more. Right now, there are very selfish women that don't think it's individual basis, but ones and zeros. You know what? I never thought about that. I never thought about the binary aspect of reality. The more we move into a binary reality, yeah, I get what you. Well, I'm reinterpreting what you said because it clicked in me in a way that my Nigel. So when you said right now there are selfish women that don't think in individual bias basis, but 1 and 0. What I read, because I'm old school, is right now there are very selfish women that don't think in analog, but in 1s and 0. They think in digital, because life is about a spectrum, and if you dichotomize things to 1s and 0, you lose a lot of that reality. You go into yes, no, true, false thinking processes. Because not too long ago I came to the realization that one of the biggest conflicts between modern men and modern women is modern women tend to make choices and opposed to decisions. Like, I'm sure you make a lot of decisions. Like, if you're college educated and have degrees and are supporting a household with a husband and have children, I'm sure you understand the difference between making decisions and making choices. A lot of self-destructive women cater to their choices over good, solid decisions that will lead to a practical outcome of what they vision. Like, having that vision to see what you're trying to move toward, But if you reduce your analog to binary, you throw away a lot of that extra information, and then you reduce it down to simplify the terms and conditions to try to achieve a very specific direction or directive without weighing everything. So that's a very interesting perspective. So, but as much as I'm enjoying this conversation, I have to go to work. As always, my name is Paul Emerson, and I've given you my 2 cents. And I appreciate the conversation.